I'm not sure about you, but at the ripe old age of almost 45, let's just say 44 to be kind, I have yet to find something that is worth doing that will provide me a so-called passive income. And I hear all the time when I ask people, why do you want to invest in multi-residential property? I want passive income. Let me tell you that being a landlord is not passive. Even if you hire a management company, will make it a little less inconvenient as far as managing the property yourself. But even if you hire a property management company, property ownership and being a landlord is not passive. With that said, I do believe in real estate, and I do believe that real estate can make a great investment depending on what your current and future plans for that property are. So let's dive in and talk a little bit today about multi-residential properties, how to effectively invest, what the best return on investment is, where to invest in Santa Cruz, and how to exit the property when you are ready to sell it. I'm Shamika Fox, your Santa Cruz real estate expert, and I am trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So if you find this information valuable, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you are considering buying or selling right here in Santa Cruz, we would love to be the realtor of choice. And if you are looking to buy or sell outside of the area, hit me up and I'll connect you with another wonderfully amazing realtor in the area in which you need help. All right, let's dive in to multi-residential investing right here in Santa Cruz. I would say first and foremost, we always hear when we're discussing real estate whether to utilize it as an investment or if we're using it as an owner-occupied property, location, location, location. Why is location important? It is the only thing about a property that you cannot change. Now, of course, over time, if a neighborhood gets gentrified, that's something that you're not changing the location of, but your property value is benefiting by the gentrification of that neighborhood. So if you are considering investing in multi-residential properties in the Santa Cruz area, I would say that the areas that I personally would focus on are downtown Santa Cruz. Downtown Santa Cruz is in the process of getting a makeover. If you haven't seen my video on the new developments of downtown Santa Cruz, check it out. I'll put the link below. But downtown Santa Cruz is a great place to invest in multi-residential. Why? You are close to the University of California, Santa Cruz. We have a lot of students who are looking for rentals. If you have any piece of a community that inflates an area's rental and or real estate market, you should be paying close attention. Why is it important? The University of California, Santa Cruz saturates our rental market. Every year over the summer, June through September, we have an abundance of renters that are looking for a place to live before the school year starts. This means there will be limited inventory, the rental rate will increase, and you have people who actually need housing in a specific area, and downtown Santa Cruz is on the bus line that will take you up to UCSC. It's in an easy proximity to access the university, and also another reason why downtown would be a great area to invest in multi-residential is because there's lots of mixed use developments down there. There is commercial residential. There are fun things to do down there. So if you are a student that's renting in the downtown area, then you have access to a little bit of a nightlife, the most nightlife that we have in Santa Cruz County. So there's music venues, there's movie theaters, there are restaurants, there's shopping, there's all the stuff that somebody that would potentially be renting and a student up at UCSC that would be looking for. Also, when your family comes to visit you as a student and you're in the downtown area, it's a fun place to kind of hang out as a tourist. Another area that would be a great area to invest in multi-residential is the Live Oak area of Santa Cruz. And the reason is, again, this area is not too far away from the University of California, Santa Cruz, and it also has mixed use developments in that area. So there's multi-residential, there's commercial, there's single family homes, etc. And also in the Live Oak area, that area tends to have more options with regards to multi-residential homes than other areas that you might expect in Santa Cruz. Another area that I would focus on, and again, this goes into the fact that you are so close to the University of California, Santa Cruz, is the west side of Santa Cruz. There's not a ton of multi-residential on the west side of Santa Cruz, so if there is one that comes on the market, it usually gets snagged up pretty quickly. And then if you do see any multi-residential that is for sale, it's usually either a really big apartment complex complex, like the ones that you'll see going up Western Drive, or it's a duplex. We don't have a lot of like triplexes or fourplexes on the west side of Santa Cruz. I don't know why, that's just the way that it was developed. And then another great area I would say that you would want to focus on for multi-residential investing in Santa Cruz is Scotts Valley. Why? Again, you can rent to young professionals, or you can rent to professionals who are commuting over to the Silicon Valley area because that's where their job is. There's access to the Apple and Google shuttles in Scotts Valley, and Scotts Valley does have a few neighborhoods that cater to multi-residential properties as well as multi-residential zoning. It doesn't have as many areas as, say, again, Live Oak, or the downtown area where you tend to see more multi-residential options, but Scotts Valley does have some areas that cater to multi-residential investing. Okay, now that we've covered location, let's talk about cap rate, or the capitalization rate. Cap rate, which is short for capitalization rate, is a fundamental metric used in real estate investment to evaluate the potential return on investment of a property. It's calculated by dividing the property's net operating income, or NOI, by its current market value or purchase price. In essence, it indicates the percentage return an investor might expect from an income-producing property. So let's do an example so that you understand this, because the cap rate is actually really important when you're analyzing, is this a good investment or not? Let's say a property nets $50,000 annually and it's valued at $1 million. The cap rate would be 5% because it's $50,000 divided by $1 million, and that's how you get a cap rate. Cap rates vary widely, and in Santa Cruz, it's actually really hard to get a high cap rate because of the cost of real estate here in Santa Cruz. So though you might want to evaluate a property based on cap rates in Santa Cruz, it might be challenging to hit that high or positive cap rate of 8 or 9%. A low cap rate would be considered between 3% and 5%. And generally speaking, that is what we will see in the Santa Cruz area. Moderate cap rate is between 6 and 8%. If I ever see a 6 to 8% cap rate in Santa Cruz, I know that that's actually a good deal, even though it's only considered moderate when you look at the national standards. A high cap rate is 9% or above. And again, it is very rare to see something that is 9% or above. If you are going to see a 9% cap rate or above, it might be because it's an apartment complex with 50 plus units. But again, if you're selling or buying an apartment complex with 50 plus units, chances are it's going to be quite expensive. So then your cap rate is of course going to be probably less than 9%. So generally speaking, in Santa Cruz, I do see cap rates between 3 and 5%, and that is on the low end of the spectrum with regards to cap rates. I think that's actually a really nice segue to talk about property type selection. So obviously you can invest, if you're looking for an investment property in the Santa Cruz area or where you're from, then you can consider purchasing a single family home, which would just be like one home on a lot. You could consider purchasing a duplex, which is 2 units, a triplex, which is 3 units, and a fourplex, which is 4 units, and anything over a fourplex is generally considered an apartment complex or an apartment building. So when analyzing whether to buy a single family home as an investment property, generally speaking, unless you are paying cash, and it will take a really long time to make up that cash investment if you are renting in the Santa Cruz area, generally speaking, if you can afford to buy a duplex, triplex, fourplex, or an apartment building, your return on investment is going to be greater. But another thing to consider is also that your vacancy factor will be less, because if you have a single family home and you're renting out the single family home, if your tenant leaves, then your one home is vacant or unoccupied, so you're not collecting rent until you refill it. If you have a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex, or an apartment building, if one tenant leaves, you still have income coming in off of the other units in your complex. With regards to purchasing or investing in a duplex, there's a couple of really cool factors, right? One, you can actually have an owner-occupied unit and buy a duplex as your primary residence. So if you're getting a loan and you're using a loan to borrow and purchase an investment property, generally speaking, your rate and terms will be more expensive or higher. If you buy a home and you're buying it, or if you buy a duplex and you're buying it as a primary residence and you're buying it with a loan, then your rate and terms will be more favorable or more beneficial. But then you have to live on the property. So then the trade-off is you get a home and you get some income, but you don't get the income from both units. If you're looking into purchasing a triplex or a fourplex, you may still be able to get a residential loan, though once you are above that duplex option, the lenders tend to have more restrictions and more requirements. But the benefit of having more units in a triplex or a fourplex is obviously you have more rental income. There's also more shared expenses, right? So if you have four units that are utilizing the same driveway and you have to pave the driveway, you have 4 tenants that are helping offset the cost of repaving the driveway. The cons of going higher than a duplex, buying a triplex or a fourplex, are that the management can be a bit more complex. For example, let's say that you only have one water meter on the property. You have to figure out a fair and equitable way to share the cost of water between all of the units. Generally speaking, each will be individually metered, and if they're not individually metered, there's actually a really cool company that my clients own called EKM Metering, and that will help you navigate the ability to divide which unit owes what for all of the utilities. I will link a video in here so that you can learn more about EKM Metering because they're a really great and local company. Of course, with more units, there is the benefit of having more rental income come in, but there's also more people that you're dealing with. So you might not get along with one or two of the tenants, might not get along with each other, and then all of a sudden conflicts arise. It becomes more complicated to navigate than if you were to buy a duplex and there was either one unit that was owner occupied with a tenant in the other unit, or 2 units that are both tenant occupied. The more people you deal with, obviously, the more complexities that you deal with as well with regards to managing the client, managing the property. Some pros about investing in small apartment complexes, so 5+ units, are obviously that there's going to be higher income. There's going to be less of a vacancy factor, meaning, again, if you have 5 or more units and one of your apartments is vacant, then it's not going to mean that you don't have any income. It's just going to mean that while that one unit is vacant, you're waiting to refill it, but you're still collecting rent from all the other apartments that are occupied. The cons of investing in a 5-unit complex or more: typically speaking, you would be required, if you weren't paying cash, to utilize a commercial loan, and commercial loans are a bit more complicated than an owner-occupied or a principal residence loan. Management for that property, whether you're managing it yourself or whether you're hiring an outside company to manage that property for you, that becomes a bit more complicated and complex. Again, when you deal with multiple people, then you are dealing with multiple personalities and potentially more conflict. But also, if you have a bigger complex or an apartment building, you have more surface area that needs to be updated and renovated and taken care of so that you can protect your asset, right? So there's obviously pros and cons to the different size of multi-residential units that you'll be investing in. As I discussed, with a duplex, you can live in one side and you would qualify for a primary resident loan, which is more beneficial than if you were to get a commercial loan based on rates and terms. But obviously, the more units you have, the lower your vacancy rate factor becomes, and the more complex the management becomes. So you have to decide what's going to be the best bet for you personally, but definitely weigh all the options and see what the cap rates are on the duplex versus the triplex, fourplex, and 5+ units. If you are finding value in my channel, I would love for you to hit that like and subscribe button. I am trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2025, and all of your support means the absolute world to me. If you are looking for a realtor to help you within the county of Santa Cruz, please feel free to reach out. I would love to be your realtor of choice. And if you are looking outside of the Santa Cruz County area, please hit me up. I will be able to connect you with another amazing realtor in your area. So let's dive right back in as we were talking about multi-residential investing both in Santa Cruz County and outside and beyond. Let's talk about whether or not to hire a property management company. Obviously, a property management company will alleviate you from some of the stress, not all of the stress, because again, remember, anything that's worth investing in is not going to be completely passive. You're making money on this. This is actually a job. But if you want a bit more of a passive type income, then do consider hiring a property management company. The pros, I would say, of hiring a property management company is their expertise. Now everybody has amazingly robust software. So there's portals for your tenants, there's portals for your landlords. There are the accounts that the property manager manages for you with regards to calling in vendors to do either unplanned or planned fixes. What's an unplanned fix? Our plumbing is backed up and we need a plumber to come out in the middle of the night on a Tuesday, and a planned fix is obviously like, oh, the roof is failing, let's put it in the budget to repair the roof on our investment. The pros of hiring a property management company are their expertise. They have amazing software that helps you manage not only your property but also your tenants and the finances with respect to your property. Also, I would say another really big factor, property managers will save you a lot of money in that they are very selective in their process of choosing the right tenant. Why is this important? Because if somebody stops paying you rent, it is really hard to just evict them. So you could have several months where the tenant is not leaving the property and you are not collecting rent on that property, and that is your out-of-pocket expense until you can get that tenant to leave and replace them with somebody who will be paying their rent. So I would say, actually, if you're considering not hiring a property manager, see if you can find a property manager. And again, I'm happy to connect you with a property manager in your area. But if you are not wanting the full gamut of property management, see if you can find a property manager who is able to at least place the tenant, because they will screen them. They will do a profile verification. They will check their employment. They will check their finances, and they'll make sure that not only are they a good fit, but that they'll be able to afford paying the rent that will be due. And then obviously the cons of property management is just the fee. If you're trying to make as much money as possible off of your residential investment, then you have additional fees, which would go into that cap rate analysis. And the more fees you have, the less money you will be making and your cap rate comes down. Also, you have reduced control. So generally speaking, a property manager will have an expense fund, and if the expense is under a certain amount, let's say $1,000, then the property manager is at liberty to use that up to $1,000 in case of an emergency without even getting permission to spend that money on, say, again, a plumbing emergency. So you have less control, but also you're not going to get that phone call in the middle of the night of that plumbing emergency and have to deal with getting somebody in there in the middle of the night. So it's a risk-reward situation, and I would say, generally speaking, I would opt to have a property manager because I think that my time is more valuable than calling a plumber in the middle of the night. But everybody has different goals with regards to multi-residential investing, so you need to analyze what your goals are and also your return on your investment and your cap rate. Okay, we have talked about location. We have talked about the difference between a duplex, triplex, fourplex, fiveplex and beyond. We have talked about cap rate or capitalization rate. We have talked about the pros and cons of utilizing a property management company. And now we are going to talk about the exit strategy. Maybe you have invested in a multi-residential property because you want passive income, right? No, wrong. But because you actually want to use it as leverage so that you can build your portfolio for wealth, or because you want to be able to cash out and use this as your retirement fund once you are ready to retire. The optimal, I say with air quotes, the optimal holding time for an investment property really varies, and it depends a lot on market dynamics. I would say that the best advice I can give you is don't sell your house when you are scared. A lot of people end up putting their homes or their properties on the market because they are afraid of what the market will do. If you have bought this as a long-term investment for your retirement or just a long-term investment, hold it until you are ready to sell it. Now you can watch the market and you can say, as soon as my property is worth a certain amount, I'll be ready to sell and cash out, or I'll be ready to sell and purchase another investment property. But don't sell based on fear. Don't say, oh my gosh, I heard on the news that the market is crashing. I have to get rid of all my real estate. Don't do that. It's a bad idea. If you can hold it, hold it. Now, I'm not saying, like, sometimes people can't actually hold it, and so then that needs to be part of their consideration. But you will have tax ramifications when you sell an investment property. When you sell your primary residence, you have $250,000 capital gains or $500,000 capital gains exemption for married couples when you sell your principal residence property. When you sell your investment property that you've never lived in, then you will have tax liabilities with that sale. So another thing you need to consider when you are considering your exit strategy from your investment is, are you prepared to pay the capital gains tax so that you can cash out and put your investment money into another account? Or do you want to do something like a 1031 exchange? A 1031 exchange will allow you to not pay taxes. Again, I'm not giving you tax or legal advice. I would suggest that you talk to your CPA or your tax attorney or your tax advisor or your financial planner. I am just giving you a basic general overview. If you sell your investment property and you want to participate in what's called a 1031 exchange, you are allowed to exchange one investment property for a like kind or another investment property that is basically valued at the same amount without having any liability. You have 180 days from the time that you sell your original investment to the time that you name your new investment. You can also do what's called a reverse exchange, which is when you purchase your new investment property first and then you sell your original investment. The reason that a reverse exchange actually makes sense, especially in this market, is we just have such limited inventory that if you only had 180 days to name what you were going to be purchasing, you might not hit that mark if you have very specific criteria. So it might be beneficial to explore the option of doing a reverse exchange, which means you're buying your new investment property first and then you're selling your old one. But a 1031 exchange is something that you should absolutely consider and explore in your exit strategy so that you can save money on your tax liabilities. I think we've covered a lot today. We've talked about investing in multi-residential properties right here in Santa Cruz as well as other areas of the world. And we have covered location, things to consider when you are choosing a location for your multi-residential property. We have talked about capitalization rate and what a good cap rate looks like and how to analyze a cap rate. We've talked about the pros and cons of hiring a property management company. We have talked about the different options when it comes to choosing, should you buy a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex, a fiveplex, or an apartment building. And we have talked about your exit strategy, selling your multi-residential property when you are ready, and considering things like, don't use fear when deciding to sell your property. Use real analytics and discuss with your CPA or your tax and financial advisor the option of a 1031 exchange, which will help you save on tax liabilities. If you have found this video and other videos that we produce useful and helpful and valuable, I would love it if you would hit that like and subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2025, and we are on a bit of a slow start, but not terrible. So please help me hit that number. And if you have any questions with regards to Santa Cruz real estate and beyond, feel free to reach out to me. I'll either be able to help you or I'll be able to guide you to the right person who can. Make it a great day.